You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast.
You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. My name is Shawn Wilkie, and along with my awesome co-host, we interview the innovators in this space every week. Another friend is coming to the show this week. I'm super excited to get started today. Ivan, please go ahead and introduce today's guest.
Hey, I'm Ivan Zach. Very excited to introduce a colleague of mine, Dr. Ken Lambrecht. Dr. Ken is a practicing veterinarian for 40 years, focusing on preventative care, cats, and nutrition. He has served or currently serves on the AHA, MarketLink, AAVN, AAFB, and TVC boards. I can't even do all those abbreviations. You'll have to tell us what are those. And he has always been focused on how technology can better serve veterinarians and practices setting, and now look forward to doing the same in the pet home environment and connecting those two to save veterinary team and allow better outcomes via his startup Healthy Pet Connect. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Good morning. I'm delighted to be here, even though it's a bit early over this way.
So, Ken, tell us more about the platform, what it is. And, you've been in the industry for so many years. It's obviously a product of all of your knowledge and experience. What are you trying to accomplish with the platform?
Yeah, Ivan, I kind of feel like the luckiest guy in the world. I met Bar Hadar and Teresa Bernardo, and it was at Innovation Summit, actually. And the three of us just sat down at breakfast. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? And before we knew it, we had a pilot and a study that just got published last week. The study was multiple cat households using technology, and the end result was 4x improvement in getting cats to ideal weight.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's our starting point. There's so many things, as you know. I went through some of the podcasts you guys have been doing, and I just looked at the most recent one. I mean, look what the wearables are doing. And how are we going to get that? The nut of it is, how are we going to get that information to the veterinarians in a clean and easily usable form?
So tell us, as a platform, what does it look like to an end user? So what is it? Is it a device? Is it an app? What is it when the user is doing it?
It's a free pet parent app that if the pet is overweight, they purchase a subscription, and they can also purchase a scale set and a feeding set. That information then is distilled and goes to the veterinarian in the form of a dashboard, giving things like rate of weight loss. If it's too fast or too slow, obviously we need to intervene. Important point, we are not going to put pets on random foods. These have to be RX foods if the pet is obese, seven out of 9 or up, or 8 out of 9. So there's got to be some real strict controls, because as veterinarians, we know there's a lot of wacky stuff going on out there in the nutrition world.
Why Healthy Pet Connect? You're a practicing veterinarian for 40 years. You've been involved in these other organizations. You're probably one of the highest energy guys that I've met in the vet industry. Where did this idea come from, and what does it look like in 10 years?
2 or 3 tough questions there. Okay, so I told you how I got into it. I think it comes down to, I've been on a number of radio shows and TV and lecturing. I love the ability to get the word out to more people at one time. This is just, rather than in an exam room with one client. So really, everything that I've done in the exam room, one of the boards I forgot to put on there, darn it, was Pet Nutrition Alliance. And on that board, and I was chair of the tools committee, we developed a calculator, a simple calculator, but it was non-branded. There was no pet food that we were pushing. We were pushing correct caloric requirements based on body condition score. So through that, I just got more and more excited. And we use that tool in my clinic every day. A pet over 6 out of 9. And Sebastian was in last week. He can tell you, they walk out of there a little bit low tech, but with a diary. It was a Pet Nutrition Alliance diary that says you need to feed this many calories. And unless we start that dialogue really strong with a strong recommendation, we're not going to have any adherence to our recommendation. So that was a roundabout way to answer your question. In 10 years, who knows? Look at the devices that are out there. Look at these wearables. Look what Al D'Arienzo is doing with voice, rebirthing that thing. Look at the Mela. I mean, look at all the plethora of devices, but which ones are good and which ones aren't? And how do we get that information to the veterinarian and part of their PIMS? That's going to be, I think, the real challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so excited to have you on the show, Ken, because we've had this conversation a bunch of times kind of offline, and it's fun to take it to the show finally. The stuff that kind of like blew me away was some of the charts for some of the cats that were in your study and that you've helped. You've had these big fat cats, and they're not big fat cats anymore, and I can't remember the name of the cat, but I'm sure you do. And just this journey that you've been on, building Healthy Pet Connect, now that you've got the app, what do the results look like when somebody takes this stuff serious? Give us some examples.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that lead in, because really what I also forgot to mention is Fit Pets for Rescues. So for 11 years, we've held a contest in our clinic in Madison, Wisconsin. We've gotten sponsors like Babble Bark, Sure Pet Care, Fit Bark, you name it, all the major food companies to donate products. So what we've done then is to motivate people to win product. Toletta, facial recognition litter box with a built-in scale. These products are out there. So to give them exposure, we had them be sponsors of the contest. And then what we could do is pit, a neighborhood dog against, another neighbors or a group of cats. And so what we would do, just create and then that money would go to rescues. So now with the app, we can take that nationwide. So that's probably the super most exciting part of it, is we can recommend good products, good foods, and get good outcomes. So you might have been referring to Spudge, and he hit a landmark earlier this week, and I put it on LinkedIn. I have a lot of Spudge followers. 38-pound cat came to our clinic, a rescue from Dane County Humane Society. I said, Dr. Ken, you've been doing this for years, but we got a tough one for you. Well, they said he was coming in my staff said he's coming in at 16. I had no idea they meant 16 kilograms. A 16-pound cat is usually what comes into us. So this cat is 3 pounds from the Guinness Book of World Records, which they stopped using, by the way, because they didn't want people to overfeed their cats, if you can believe somebody would do that. But at any rate, this cat just hit a milestone. He lost 10 pounds in 4 months using our app.
38,
And our
that's a lot
food,
of cat.
that's one cat, Ivan. That's a whole cat he's lost. And he's the most adorable creature, but he can walk, but not very well. But 10 pounds, we've seen some improvement. He's on joint supplements. I've consulted with Martha Klein, who wrote the book on pet obesity, Alex German in Liverpool. We're losing it 2% a week. Now, industry standard is about 0.7%. You guys know that. I would not do this without a prescription, high protein food. We're weighing him every day, but he's doing great. So that's why I do it. You get a success like that. And I got dozens of other cats, and so many people have helped. Dottie LaFlamme, Deb Zoran. These are people that all convinced us that we could do this safely in cats. So the study was multiple cat households, because that hasn't been done very often. How do you prevent the food stealing and sharing? Well, we used Sure Pet Connect feeders. I think we're the first study to use them. And we used scales, accurate scales, body weight scales, and food scales. And that became the genesis of Healthy Pet Connect, is let's find the right tools. Let's get an app, because it was very hard. Dr. Hadar knows we spent all of our time, this is before COVID, trying to get veterinarians we had in the study, trying to get that information that we needed to complete the study. It was miserable. The app is going to make that so much easier.
So tell us more about this study. So it was conducted in a multiple cat household. It's so difficult to, even with one cat, be disciplined about providing the right amount of food, and then with the multiple pets, how was that conducted?
Absolutely. The key, Ivan, was microchips. So Sure Pet Feeder, they made a fantastic feeder where it will limit the cat. Now, what it won't do is separate out feedings to six to 8 times a day, which we know that's what we should do for optimal feeding. And then the other thing was, because of the Connect feature, will say how much the client fed. We told them to feed 3 times a day. Well, the average was actually 2.3. So we could get real data of how these clients are following our recommendations at home. But the other really cool thing was, and this was statistically significant, the cats ate more frequent, smaller feedings, which is exactly what we wanted them to do. And that was with the food switch. We used Hill's Metabolic. So the number of things that we could go to, the more the continued research, and we do want to be a research company at some point, is unlimited.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. And I think, Dr. Ken, this pandemic has changed the world a lot. People are more connected than ever with their pets. They're caring more about their pets' health than ever before. Have you seen an influx of interest from pet parents yet, or is it too early? And when do you think that'll happen?
No, it absolutely, Shawn, we've been using this out of our clinic in Madison for the past, 6 months. Actually, Fit Pets for Rescues went virtual during COVID. So we realized that we had to do everything. We had to do this. We originally used the BabbleBark platform. They were a sponsor, and we used them as a telehealth platform. But we decided we needed our own. We needed much more granularity in the food they were feeding, how often, and better graphs and better feedback. So that's really why we built our own. Our intent is to partner, with anyone. So, and I think the problem is there's so many apps out there. So really, I want to make sure that everybody knows. I mean, weight management is our first foray, but look at osteoarthritis. Look at what we could do for osteoarthritis. Like how many people through telehealth, people are taking pictures and videos and trying to get them to their veterinarian. Well, it needs to be more seamless, but then how do we analyze those? And so whether it's food or arthritis, there's all this data coming from the home that needs to be distilled down and get to the veterinarian in an easy fashion. So that really is what the platform is all about.
So for the pets at home that are monitored, can you walk me again through sort of? I'm trying to build a picture because we're not visual podcasts. So you have an app that monitors the weight. Is it connected to the weight scale? Is that what it is?
Yes, there's a food scale and a body weight scale, which is suitable for up to like 40 pounds.
That cat is pushing it. 2 more
Yeah,
pounds.
yeah, well, exactly. Good point. So, and the scales that we're having built for us will be Bluetooth into the app. So we'll know exactly how much the pet parent fed, and then on a hopefully twice a week basis for cats is pretty reasonable, to find out how fast they're losing. So then that goes into the cloud and then back to the app, and we sit and supervise, too fast, too slow. But the other interesting thing is we found that we have put a lot of cats in my practice, frailty cats, diabetes, IBD. Look at how many cats come into our practice, right? Losing weight, and the client didn't know about it.
Mm.
Well, with a scale in the home and an app, and they're just doing it routinely, we can prevent that, or detect it earlier. And in our younger cats, we have a new little adventure kitten at the clinic called Rue. Bug is my adventure cat, but now she's got a little accomplice. And somebody said, "Hey, Rue jumped on the dog scale and said, 'Hey, Rue's 8 pounds.'" I said, "Wait a minute, that's our poster cat. She can't be weighing 8 pounds." So she's getting on the program. So, but it's as simple as that. We can't tell, even as veterinarians, I couldn't tell. I had an older cat that was dying of, well, I was on a FDA drug for diabetes and oral, and I thought it was great. I didn't have to give insulin. All of a sudden, he started losing weight. Well, one of the side effects of that drug happened to be inadvertent weight loss. You know what picked it up? The Toletta. I looked back, I called the owner or the CEO and said, "I need this data." And he sent me a spreadsheet. And sure enough, that cat had lost over a pound in 6 months. The interesting thing, everybody, Bar and everybody, the study, by the way, was Canadian and US. So I can put the link on if you want. But that was really a challenge, but it was kind of fun because Bar and I had a lot of discussions that we're going to use kilograms or pounds. I said, "Listen, I would much prefer pounds because I'm in the US." No, it was. But if you think about it, it's twice the numero, and it's two. And if we go to 2 decimals, we've got a really accurate. And if you're going to use kilograms, I would suggest 3 decimals to have that same accuracy. So if you think about that, but that's how granular we're getting down to. And these scales measure to 10 grams, these new
Oh, wow.
baby scales. Yeah. So that's 20 times more accurate than a human health scale. People cannot just pick up their cat unless they're using one of the new super ones. And I've been researching scales for way too long, but they just don't exist. That's that 40-pound cutoff or 20-kilogram cutoff. They use different load sensors.
So is that something that you can do for dogs as well? Is that the look in the future, or?
Yeah, we've just started throwing around the idea of how we're going to deal with dogs. So I can't disclose too much yet, but it's pretty exciting. But yeah, think about where dogs gather. Yeah, we need some scales. Yeah, we need a different way to work with them. Nobody's going to buy those scales would be a couple $100. And we don't want to be in the hardware business. That's not what we're at.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then the next is humans, right? So it's
Right.
Yeah, I was thinking about Shawn. When I
oh, come
was
on.
able to go to Halifax, I could put him on a diet and kick him to go to CrossFit with me, but it's been a while.
None of us want that app that tells us to quit drinking that next beer, do we?
Yeah, that's right. It's so funny. It's really interesting though, like this whole world of, I don't know if it's preventative. I guess in some cases it's preventative medicine, but this is a whole new kind of frontier for veterinary medicine. When you have this level of data and the sophistication in the data, it can tell you a lot of things. And as you two, as veterinarians, a lot of the times that you've seen clients, you're going blind. You don't have a lot of data. You have, maybe a conversation that you had with the pet parent. So I guess my next question for you is, what's it like to be a veterinarian with this new data set compared to without it, Dr. Ken?
Yeah, I mean, and again, we're seeing this day in, day out. On the app is actually a body condition score that the client picks. Now they guess what they think is the body condition score, right? And then we back calculate to the calories they need. They don't always guess right. Neither does the veterinarian, we found out. So we're going to have an algorithm that triangulates between that pet's 1 year weight, the veterinarian's guess, and the pet owner's guess. But then guess what? We've got pictures from the top down, from the side. And if new devices come out, we can get some impedance in there. Think how accurate, or again, your last guess. So how useful is it? It could save my staff 5 minutes because they're also loading the treat they're feeding, the food they're feeding, the caloric box. When they start scanning labels, all this information will be in our database.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So I guess the next question that I have for you is, there's tons of people that listen to this show now all around the world. So people are going to listen, they're going to want more information. How do they find out more info about what you're doing? If they want to be involved, if they want to start using your program, what options do you have for the people that listen to our show?
Yeah, if they just go to the website healthypetconnect.com, that will get them in. We are beefing up the inquiries because we're getting a lot more after the last 2 shows we've done. So bear with us on that. But I will definitely be as specific as they can about what they're interested in. Because Shawn, I can see us doing home research in time. We want to be that platform that's so reliable, so dedicated to veterinarians. We're not going to stray from that. We're veterinarian owned. And it's really, really exciting, Pat. But we want to go slow, but we'll have scale sets ready to ship in December. We're probably going to set up hubs across the country. We're going to stay North America for now, but we'd be able to ship 5 scales at a time, sets, but the pet parents would sign up, and all the veterinarian would do would be to put them on the right food and have the discussion of how important weight management is.
That's awesome. And I have probably before we ask our last 2 questions, I have an ethical question. So with so many, new, I'm trying to be careful here, language
What, you're trying to be careful? Stop
alterations,
that. Stop that.
how do you go about explaining the cat owner or pet owner that their pet is fat? Do you
Yeah.
find that people don't like that word on their pets as much as they don't like that in human beings anymore? Or is it a big bone? Or what do you say?
Oh, can I use the F word? Yeah, I can do that. I don't. Over conditioned, there's a million O words, but yeah, lots of funny stories related to that.
Well loved.
Right. But the fact is, yeah, it's a serious. Obesity is now classified as a disease,
Yep.
and we need to treat it as such and prevent it.
Okay. Well, we ran through our 20 minutes, and that's our promise to our listeners. So we have 2 questions we usually ask at the end. One of them is their book, is there a TED Talk, is there a YouTube video that you think would be good to advise to our listeners to see, watch, read, or something like that?
Yeah, Ivan, that's the toughest question you can ask me. I'm not a big reader. I'm always running around. I have a hard time sitting still, as Shawn alluded to. But I would say The Inner Athlete by Dan Millman. I've been an endurance athlete most of my life, and I think about a lot of things when I'm out there training. And so really I got a lot of inspiration from that book, just about keeping your mind quiet and just before the performance, really kind of going deep. And when I'm out training, that's when I come up with my ideas. It's not really, I mean, podcasts like this get me stimulated, and after this I'm going to go paddle for a while and distill it down. So I'm not the best book source.
Sounds like a pretty good book. I'm interested. You got me. So our other question is another innovator, somebody else that's in the pet space, the animal health space, that you think that we should have on the show.
I think a colleague of mine that I really respect, and she's actually on my advisory board, is Dr. Elizabeth Colleran. She's been past AFP president. She's working right now with Zoetis with frailty. So she's defining frailty in older cats. So I think she'd be a phenomenal guest. She has her own podcast, Chico Animal Hospitals. She does I-131. She just sold a couple of clinics. So she should have a little time to be on. So I didn't tell her I was going to nominate her, but her name popped up when you guys asked the question. So I think you'd love her.
Thank you so much for listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. If you want to hear about our new episodes, please follow us on any social media channel. Also, you can check out our website at veterinarynnovationpodcast.com. See you next week.